Welcome to Shadows of. Today we delve into the unsettling true stories of school lockdowns, where safety becomes a breeding ground for terror. Prepare yourself for a journey through 3 terrifying true school lockdown stories that will send chills down your spine. Picture a typical day at school. The hallways buzz with activity, students shuffle between classes, and the familiar drone of lectures fills the air, creating a symphony of academic life. In a crowded calculus class, students are hunched over their textbooks. The rhythmic scratch of pencils the only sound disturbing the silence. A silence filled with concentration and effort. Our story begins on just such an ordinary day. A day that would spiral into a nightmare in the blink of an eye, changing the lives of everyone present. The first sign that something was wrong was a piercing screech. A jarring interruption to the mundane routine, shattering the calm atmosphere. It was the school's PA system, the voice of the dean, usually calm and authoritative, now strained with panic, a tone that sent chills down the spine. "Lockdown, lockdown, this is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill." The words echoed through the halls, leaving no room for misunderstanding. The announcement, delivered with an urgency that left no room for doubt, shattered the illusion of safety that a school provides, turning the familiar into the unknown. The classroom, once a place of learning, transformed into a shelter of fear, a stark contrast to its usual role. Students exchanged terrified glances, their eyes wide with a mixture of confusion and dread, their minds racing with questions and fears. The teacher, her face pale, sprang into action, her training kicking in despite the tremor in her hands, moving with a sense of urgency. She rushed to the door, engaging the lock with a resounding click that seemed to amplify the silence that followed, a silence filled with tension. The windows, large and inviting just moments ago, were now potential threats, their glass a fragile barrier against the unknown danger lurking outside, a danger that felt all too real. As the students huddled together in the darkened classroom, their fear palpable, a new sound reached their ears, a sound that would heighten their terror. It was a rhythmic banging, accompanied by muffled shouts and what sounded like incoherent ramblings, noises that seemed to come from a nightmare. The sounds were distant at first, but they grew steadily closer, each clang of metal against metal sending a fresh wave of terror through the room, a room that felt increasingly small. The teacher, her voice barely a whisper, tried to reassure her students, but her words were drowned out by the growing commotion outside, a commotion that seemed relentless. The banging grew louder, more insistent, as if the unseen intruder was trying to force his way into their sanctuary, a sanctuary that felt increasingly vulnerable. Then came the threats, a man's voice, laced with anger and something more sinister, something unhinged, a voice that sent shivers down their spines. Time seemed to stand still, each second stretching into an eternity. Minutes stretched into an eternity as the students and their teacher sat trapped in the darkness, their fear a living, breathing entity in the confined space, a space that felt increasingly suffocating. The sounds of chaos outside continued, each bang, each shout, a hammer blow to their already frayed nerves, nerves that were stretched to their limits. Then, as suddenly as it began, the noise stopped, leaving a silence that was almost as terrifying as the noise. The banging ceased, the threats faded into an eerie silence, a silence that felt heavy with anticipation. The silence stretched on, thick with anticipation and dread, each second feeling like an hour. Finally, a voice broke the silence, a voice that brought a glimmer of hope. It was the dean, his voice still shaky but laced with relief, announcing that the lockdown was over, words that felt like a lifeline. The all clear was met with a collective sigh of relief, the sound almost deafening in the quiet classroom, a classroom that felt like a haven once more. The frantic lockdown, as it came to be known, served as a stark reminder of the fragility of safety, of how quickly a normal day can descend into chaos, a chaos that leaves a lasting impact. Our second story takes us to a different school, a different town, but the feeling of dread, the palpable tension of a lockdown, remains a chilling constant, echoing the fears of many. It was an October day, the skies heavy with rain, casting a gloomy pall over the school, as if nature itself sensed the impending turmoil. The lunch period was in full swing, the cafeteria abuzz with the chatter of students and the clatter of trays, a typical scene of youthful energy. Then, without warning, a series of loud booms shattered the lunchtime tranquility, piercing through the normalcy like a knife. The The sounds, sharp and close, sent a jolt of fear through the room, freezing everyone in their tracks. Students froze, their conversations dying in their throats as they exchanged bewildered and terrified glances, trying to make sense of the chaos. The initial moment of stunned silence was broken by a collective gasp, followed by a wave of panic that rippled through the cafeteria, turning order into chaos. Teachers, their faces etched with concern, reacted quickly, ushering the students out of the cafeteria and into the relative safety of the multi-purpose room, their voices calm but urgent. The room, usually used for assemblies and gym classes, was quickly transformed into a makeshift shelter, its large windows covered with paper and its doors locked, a fortress against the unknown. As the students huddled together, their anxiety growing with each passing moment, rumors began to circulate, each more alarming than the last. Whispers of a shooter, a bomb threat, a hostage situation spread through the room like wildfire, each more terrifying than the last, feeding the collective fear. The lack of concrete information only served to amplify the fear, turning the multi-purpose room into a pressure cooker of anxiety and dread, every second feeling like an eternity. The school staff, their faces grim but composed, moved among the students trying to maintain order and provide reassurance, though their own fears were barely concealed. But their reassurances rang hollow in the face of the unknown, the uncertainty gnawing at everyone. The students, their eyes glued to their phones, desperately tried to contact their parents, their friends, anyone who could shed light on the situation, seeking comfort in connection. The lockdown stretched on, each tick of the clock a hammer blow to the nerves of those trapped inside, the minutes dragging on endlessly. The weight of the unknown pressed down on them, suffocating, relentless, a heavy blanket of fear. The initial panic had given way to a tense silence, broken only by the occasional muffled sob or the nervous tap of a foot, the room heavy with unspoken fears. The suicide threat, as it became known, was a stark reminder that the threat of violence can come from unexpected places, that even in a quiet suburban town, danger can lurk just beyond the schoolyard fence, a sobering reality for all. Chapter 3: The Office Intruder. Our final story takes us away from the crowded hallways and classrooms and into the dimly lit basement office of a school, a place where one might assume safety from the chaos unfolding above. In this windowless room, an intern, new to the school and its routines, found himself facing a terrifying reality. It was a normal afternoon, the hum of the copy machine and the faint murmur of voices from the floors above the only sounds disturbing the quiet of the office. The intern, engrossed in his work, was startled by the sudden blare of the fire alarm. He looked up, confused, his initial thought that it was a drill. But there was an urgency to the alarm, a piercing quality that set his nerves on edge. Before he could react, the phone on the desk rang, its shrill tone cutting through the air. It was the school secretary, her voice tight with panic. "Lockdown," she said, her words clipped. "Get to safety, now!" The line went dead, leaving the intern in stunned silence. He looked around the small office, his heart pounding in his chest. There was nowhere to go, no classroom to barricade himself in, no sturdy door to lock. The office, located in the basement, had only a flimsy partition separating it from the hallway, offering little in the way of protection. His mind raced, fear constricting his throat. He considered his options, each more terrifying than the last. He could try to make his way upstairs, to find a more secure location, but the thought of venturing out into the hallway, potentially coming face to face with whatever danger lurked there, filled him with dread. As he stood there, frozen by indecision, he heard footsteps approaching the office. His blood ran cold. He ducked behind the filing cabinet, his heart pounding against his ribs, his breath catching in his throat. The footsteps stopped just outside the office door. He held his breath, listening intently, praying that whoever it was would just keep walking. But then he heard a noise that sent a fresh wave of fear through him. It was the sound of the flimsy partition being pushed aside, the sound of someone entering the office. He squeezed his eyes shut, his body trembling, as the intruder moved around the room. He pulled out his phone, his hands shaking so badly he could barely dial. He managed to send a desperate text to a friend, a silent plea for help, for someone to know he was trapped. The reply came back almost instantly, and the words that flashed across the screen sent a chill down his spine. "Stay hidden," the text read. The guy who just came in there, he's the one they're after. He just shot someone upstairs. The intern stared at the words, his blood turning to ice. The Office Intruder incident, as it came to be known, served as a stark reminder of the importance of vigilance, of the need to be aware of one's surroundings, even in a place that is supposed to be safe. It highlighted the unpredictable nature of danger and the necessity of being prepared for the unexpected. The intern's experience was a chilling example of how quickly a seemingly ordinary day can turn into a nightmare, underscoring the importance of emergency protocols and the courage it takes to face such harrowing situations. These stories, each more unsettling than the last, offer a glimpse into the terrifying reality of school lockdowns, events that transform places of learning into scenes of fear and uncertainty. If you found these accounts as chilling as we did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more spine-tingling content. Until next time, stay safe and stay aware.